formation with that incredible run. To the Champions League title in his famous stint in charge. Daniel chipping in on the midfielder debate when it's talked about the fact that Kimmich is at his best when he's playing box to box. I'm there, though I do think he would have got good enough game time with Bayern that he still could have continued his development. But to go to Leverkusen, a club that really are looking very good for this season, I'm very excited about their prospects under Xabi Alonso in the current campaign. And their 3-2 win against Leipzig on matchday 1, not a bad result either, you have to say. So I'm excited to see what they can do, and I think Stanisic might actually play quite a pivotal role in their success this season, which would be nice. Paul with a bold prediction for the opening Bundesliga home game of the season against Augsburg, saying Bayern will beat Augsburg 5-3. There's a go. We'll throw that question out there. What's your prediction for the game against Augsburg? What will the scoreline be? Put your answers in the chat. We've got so many comments coming in. One from Chike saying, Kimmich is at best a box-to-box and gets carried away with orchestrating play. We need someone who can sit to protect the back four. A lot of times last season, the centre-backs were exposed in 2-against-2 contests. You are welcome to your opinion there, Chike, and I'm not disagreeing with it. I just think Bayern don't need to solve the problem that you're talking about with a signature of a new player. I think that's a good way to formulate it, because yes, they could go into the transfer market. They could try and sign an out-and-out number 6. You know, you look at Liverpool, who signed Wataru Endo from Stuttgart for that reason, and Bayern could have maybe made that signature. But why disrupt the squad even more? Because what are you doing then? What are you going to do then? Let's just pretend Bayern sign a new number 6. Who are you dropping out of that squad? You're dropping Goretzka and playing Kimmich, and then you're going to have Goretzka, Gravenberch, and Konrad Laimer sitting on the bench unhappy. And for me, the danger of bringing in a new number 6 and making those 3 players unhappy is more dangerous to Bayern than the prospect of them not having their back four protected at all times. Right? I don't think that's an unfair way to formulate that statement here. And so that's what in some ways I do agree. Yes, Kimmich, for me, sometimes needs to focus more on the defensive side of it than the attacking side of it. And he does love to be the quarterback, but he does such a wonderful job at it. He's one of the best in the world when it comes to that. I mean, you think about best passers in the world from open play, Toni Kroos is clearly up there, but you're also a Kimmich. Some of the little dink passes over the top that are so pinpoint, they're a joy to behold. Daniel saying, I don't think we need a number 6. We have good depth at his position. See, Daniel agrees with me. And that's it. Don't get me wrong. There isn't a specialist number 6, right? There isn't that midfield enforcer. Your Casemiros, your Wataru Endos, your Sergio Busquets back in the day, right? There's not that player. But are you telling me that you don't think that Konrad Laimer, Leon Goretzka and Kimmich are talented enough to protect a backline? I think they are. I think they just need to tweak their roles a little bit. And I'm hoping that Thomas Tuchel has worked on that during the summer, especially, the test of that is ultimately going to be when they come up against big teams. It won't be against Werder Bremen or Augsburg necessarily. Leverkusen might give them a big test on match day 4, but it'll be in the big games in the Champions League that ultimately we'll see whether that stands the test of time. And I just think, one of the key things when you're a Bayern head coach, when you're someone like Thomas Tuchel, is making sure that the mood in camp is a good one. It's a competitive one, but no one's disgruntled, no one's unhappy, no one's really, maybe souring the mood. And right now there's a tricky balancing act going on with Ryan Gravenberch and maybe the role he's going to play this season, because I think it's clear that he wanted more game time last season, didn't get it in his debut campaign. But Thomas Tuchel has talked glowingly of Ryan Gravenberch. There's been a lot of praise for the Dutch midfielder. All eyes on Joshua Kimmich. I've got to say, liking the look of this drill. Playing in a hexagon, carved out. The pink team are trying to press. Kimmich clearly one of the link-up players in the middle, but the idea really for the... Asking about Bayern's best formation. And that was interesting because Thomas Tuchel was actually asked about the idea of a three-man back line. And he said, I think, Bayern, his side are capable of it. But I think it's very clear that his preference is this stability afforded by this 4-2-3-1 system. And let's be honest, it's a system that's ingrained in this Bayern side and has been for over a decade now, since Jupp Heynckes really made it such a popular formation with that incredible run. To the Champions League title in his famous stint in charge. Daniel chipping in on the midfielder debate. Has talked about the fact that Kimmich is at his best when he's playing box to box, and Daniel rightly pointing out that that's the Goretzka role really, or the Konrad Laimer one. I think it was maybe a surprise to people that Konrad Laimer, having started every game in pre-season, didn't start the matchday 1 fixture against Werder Bremen. But Tuchel clearly had an idea of the fact that he felt that game was going to be more physical, and therefore the stature, the physical prowess of Leon Goretzka was going to be a little more useful in midfield than Konrad Laimer. So it'll be interesting to see what he does against Augsburg, who, let's be honest, they're a combative side as well. Grant saying that I think we need a Javi Martinez-esque defensive holding midfielder that will fight hard. Kimmich is great box-to-box, but I'm not sure he quite enjoys the defensive work. I agree with you. I see that in his game as well, and I'm not disputing that point at all, because when Bayern are on the ball, Kimmich wants to be involved. He's not going to be the man that just sits back and keeps the overview and makes sure he knows where all the threats are coming from. He wants to be what he's being in this training drill, the pivot person that links the play from defence to attack, and wants to play that quarterback role of looking for the incisive passes, whether those be through the air, along the ground, out wide, whichever way you want to look at it. And so I agree. He's not Matthijs de Ligt. Matthijs de Ligt loves defending, right? Like, you listen to the way he talks about defending, and it's like listening to a striker talk about scoring goals. Matthijs de Ligt loves defending. Kimmich, I think, is happy to defend, but he doesn't love it. And so I agree with you there. But this is the point I made as well in the earlier part. Javi Martinez was a special player because he was happy being a role player and fulfilling the role. Bayern would have to be careful in buying a player right now in the summer that would maybe come in with too many expectations. But then if you're going to buy this defensive specialist that everyone thinks that Bayern needs, surely the idea is to sign that player and then he comes straight into the starting lineup. And I again point out that the risk of upsetting not just Leon Goretzka, not just Konrad Laimer, but Ryan Gravenberch as well. I mean, that's 3 players that will just potentially be a bit of a cloud that could hang over the club. And that's what I'm sure the Bayern decision makers are weighing up right now in terms of whether they do dip into the transfer market at all anymore.